Yeah, let me just double check. I think we should be live now. So let's just wait for more people to come in before we start our live stream. And yeah, uh, we are we've opened so many tabs on our on our laptop computer. Kasi we gotta have notes when we're discussing something as formal. Ano naman formal? As something as business-like as this topic. Kasi itong topic na to, hindi pwedeng hindi siya informative. It cannot be it cannot be uh, not full of information because we are going to be talking about business conditions. We're talking about strategies on what do you call this? Uh, what brands, especially luxury brands and influencers, should do in terms of being able to navigate this really tough situation on the what do you call this? On the economics of the luxury downturn. Okay, so yes, we are talking about this live. We are going to be discussing yung ano natin, yung wait, what's going on? Why is it not? Anyway, we're going to be talking about the uh, things that needs to be done in terms of being able to navigate the tricky waters of uh, this situation. Okay, so let me just adjust some stuff here, and let's welcome everyone on our chat box. Okay. Whew. Oh my God. Hello, Shaz. Yes. Hello, kumusta? So, I think first of all, welcome back to our channel. Thank you for joining us in another informative discussion on fashion, on industry updates, and digital strategy for influencers and for brands. Because we are going to do or rather we are diving into the current state of luxury and what's happening, why things are on a downturn in terms of sales and revenue, what are the things that contributed to this situation, how are brand reacting to this, and how are fashion influencers going to be affected by all of these things that is happening with the brands, and what are the repercussions on their careers, on their futures, because this is not going to be an easy year for influencers. Granted that for this year, brands are still brands are still shoving money into the influencer marketing sphere, but in terms of actual expenditure, in terms of the quality of return on investments, I should say, that the brands are expecting, medyo mas mahigpit. They're going to be a little bit more tough in terms of who qualifies into their seats on the fashion shows, because this is not going to be a very easy, discussion, easy peasy discussion, because people are going to have some issues with not being invited, not getting the invitations on front rows of fashion shows, because things are not as healthy or as rosy as it did in the 2021, 2022, and 2023 boom of the luxury market. Okay, so before we begin, I know that not a lot of fashion consumers, or rather those who consume fashion on social media is used to having a live stream discussion on this, especially for the Filipino market. This is actually a very new thing. I just realized that now, that not a lot of people in the fashion sphere, or rather who follow fashion, is very much involved when it comes to live stream discussions that are on the informative side. And I think it also is, difficult for me not to be on the educator side of things, because that has always been my default when it comes to discussions. I always want to make sure that there is value in my live stream, so that the people who are joining my live stream would learn something out of the entire discussion. Okay, so this is fairly new, apparently, to the industry, that there is a discussion that focuses mainly on providing information and interpreting what is going on in the industry, um, from the perspective of an educator. So I know this is something new. This is something that is apparently not as popular, but I do hope that you would stick still with these kinds of content, because this is something that I love. Okay, so I will be doing more of this in the coming months, especially this year, that our horizons when it comes to um, attending fashion events has become broader. Okay, so let's start this conversation with how did it get here? With the question that is all in our minds. Because we have seen luxury boom from the years 2021, 2022, and 2023. And this is attributed with the post-pandemic, revenge spending of people, especially when in the end of 2019 and the full year of 2020, we are largely sequestered in our rooms, in our houses, in our homes, because of the global pandemic at that time. Stores have closed. Several brands actually here in the Philippines was deeply affected by this change, by these really massive close downs of lockdowns, and you cannot get out to buy stuff. You can Fashion became a secondary, what do you call this? Fashion became a secondary need, and it figured as a want rather than a need during that times. So after the world opened up back again, there was a post-pandemic boom in spending. Lahat tayo na tawag ito, na-addict sa Lazada, na-addict sa online shopping during the pandemic, and then after the pandemic, we wanted to experience, retail environments again. And this is what contributed to the sudden boom in fashion and luxury goods spending. So during that time, a lot of brands actually started to feel they are in a forever upturn in terms of the what do you call this, in terms of the spending. And unfortunately, hindi lahat ng bagay na maganda tumatagal. There is a cycle to it. During the during the post-pandemic na boom in fashion, a lot of brands started to increase their prices, their retail prices, and naramdaman iyon ng mga bumibili ng mga high-end na mga brands, ng mga luxury na brands. There is even a social media post comparing Chanel in 2017 versus Chanel in 2024, that there was an increase in price by increase in their price by about 75 to 80%, which is quite a crazy number. And then there are also, a lot of brands who kept on increasing their prices until it no longer became um, palatable to their audiences, and it no longer became something that makes sense for their audiences, especially when a lot of these luxury brands, a lot of these high end mga labels started to produce en masse their products, and with speed to market of these luxury goods, quality does not necessarily always go along well with speed to market. So I think that was one of the factors that consumers started to notice when it comes to their, when it comes to their services and goods. And I think that is also coupled by the fact that there is a rising inflation. If you haven't noticed, things that we bought in 2021 or 2022, if you look at our baskets, if you go to grocery, for example, in 2021, 2022, you probably can buy a full weeks grocery for around 2,000 pesos, 2,000 to 3,000 pesos. Nowadays, if you're going to factor in the rise in commodities, rise in food prices, rise in transportation costs, and all, the same 3,000 pesos that you would buy for a week's grocery for a family of maybe three might not necessarily be the same amount that you can buy, or even less in terms of the goods that you can purchase. So, because of inflation, and then currently we have economic uncertainty because of the tariffs that the US President Donald Trump has imposed on a lot of the countries who they import and do trade relationships with, is is making things a little bit more complicated than before. So when you couple all of that in, you get this pushback in luxury goods spending. So while people who have high incomes, who are ultra high net worth individuals, are still buying, they have now shifted their idea on what comprises luxury. So add to that, plus the tough economic situation, plus the end of the post-pandemic boom in spending, we are now here in the situation where luxury goods are taking a slowdown in terms of sales. So we see plastered on the news, big names like LVMH and the Kering Group. Kering Group, they are the ones who owns brands like Alexander McQueen, Balenciaga, and of course Gucci. So they have reported slower growth and decline in sales. Now, let me just pull up what we call this, the report on the slowdown of LVMH for the first quarter, and according to Fortune magazine, LVMH is down by 3% year over year. The figures slipped short of the 2% growth forecasted by Visible Alpha consensus estimates, and this means that things are not as rosy as the what do you call this as the projections are. If they are expecting a very small amount of growth, a very slow growth, and then it's still they did a negative growth of 3%, then that is something to be what do you call this to be concerned with. Okay, so as for Caring, we had oh no, I did not open the Caring report. As for Caring, there was a reported 14% or 13% negative growth on Gucci, which is their largest brand, comprising at about 60%, around 50 to 60% of the entire Gucci group revenues. So which means that that huge number affected even if other brands had positive na tawag ito, positive na sales over the first quarter. So that is where we are right now. So if we are going to look at the next 6 months, it's not going to be in the uptick or going up of going up in terms of projections, sales projections. Why? Because there is a looming trade war between China, the US, and the rest of the world. So that is going to definitely be a factor in the way that things are going forward in terms of global trade. We have to remember and remind ourselves that China is a huge material and labor force in terms of manufacturing, and a lot of us actually are, or rather a lot of countries have migrated their manufacturing to China. I remember when I was still a student back in the 2000s, late 90s. Marami dito sa may Quezon City, in San Francisco del Monte, specifically, there are a lot of factories that manufacture for a lot of imported brands in the US, like Levi's, Oshkosh, Anne Klein, Calvin Klein. We used to have a huge manufacturing plant for Levi's jeans. I think it was, I believe, in somewhere in Makati. Then all of we also had some huge manufacturing plants for Natori in the US. We also did a lot of Calvin Klein and DKNY back in the day. However, when export merchandising was part of it was a huge part of the clothing tech curriculum, there was a lot of opportunities to work with local manufacturers here that does export to the US. However, when China opened their economy to manufacturing and global quotas on what you can import and export has been scrapped because of free trade. A lot of the work that is done here in the Philippines has migrated to China. So we now understand, how China became a global major force in terms of manufacturing. So, yun ang nangyari kung bakit ang China has become a huge manufacturing hub. Now, them having a issue with the tariffs with Donald Trump, that has also affected luxury sales, because aside from China, the other country that is a huge consumer of luxury goods is actually the United States. So when they are locked in conflict over trade, and they are throwing tariffs, like it was an easy thing to do, and they're throwing it like they're like in a game. Affected lahat kasi a lot of the materials and cheap labor that most countries are banking on is in China. So how does that affect then the luxury goods? So anything that is manufactured in China and then is exported to the United States is probably going to be taxed and tariffed heavily. And that is something that is not going to be helpful long term with the luxury goods sector, because magtataas, they have no other luxury brands, luxury labels have no other choice but to increase their what do you call this, to increase their prices because of this. So that is what is going on right now, because you know uh, there are news reports saying that Hermes is planning to increase their prices because of the tariffs, and I'm sure all other luxury good labels, whether it's from the Kering Group or it's or with the LVMH Group, they will follow suit. Okay, so how should the brands react with this downward trend in terms of sales? First, they need to rethink exclusivity. What does it take for these brands to be able to cater to a more exclusive client, or rather give their clients the exclusivity that have been that have been wanting for? A lot of the luxury goods buyers over the past several years, there is a portion of them that has been turned off with the democratization in terms of access for a lot of luxury good brands. And this is even reflected when a lot of content creators were talking smack about Maria Gracia's Churi's Dior collection for women, saying that it looks like a Dior for Zara deal. So these are things that has been in the back burner, or rather the back of the heads of everyone who buys luxury good merchandise. Nang dahil dito, syempre, nata-turn off din ang population that who buys, luxury goods from these brands, because suddenly it is accessible to all. And this is as well reflected with Christian Dior shows that is more liberal in terms of their influencer invites, that are very generous when it comes to invites. So instead of hyped and mass hyped ng mga collections, we need to see a return to craftsmanship, a return to heritage storytelling of these brands, so that they can foster long-term brand loyalty to the ones who are still buying from them. Now, I am not saying na walang karapatan yung mga bagong bumibili ng luxury goods sa mga brands na ito, na tawag nito, to be loyal back ang mga brands sa kanila. What I am saying is brands need to reinforce yung heritage branding nila, reinforce yung quality craftsmanship that they are known for, whether it's in cosmetics, in perfume, in clothes, in apparel, whether it's haute couture apparel, or ready to wear apparel na mga high-end brands, or even their watches, or even their accessory lines and jewelry lines. They need to make sure that all of these have the quality in terms of design and quality in terms of craftsmanship. Kasi magkaiba yon. When you say craftsmanship, it is quality of make. When you say aesthetics, that is quality of design. So, that's one thing. They have to start being more exclusive in that sense, that they return to the roots of what luxury is all about. And that is, impeccable craftsmanship, very high in terms of aesthetics, and then they build on heritage storytelling. Okay, now that's the first thing. They also need to be more invested in their customers, and rather than deal with them or um, make them look like they are secondary in terms of the priority of the brand. They need to cater to them more personalized na mga experiences because that is what makes people really latch on to the brand if they feel that they are taken care of. There is a certain even for a brand like Hermes, for example, there is a certain level of dissatisfaction that some customers are having with Hermes because if they wanted to buy a Birkin, taon yung hinihintay nila bago sila makabili. And sometimes there are even not so nice na tawag ito, na sales tactic that some of the sales executives or sales SAs na Hermes na binebentahan sila ng kung ano-anong mga ibang mga products, and then allegedly if they reach a certain threshold, that is only the time when they are given the opportunity to purchase a Birkin or a Kelly. So these kinds of things needs to stop because consumers nowadays, especially consumers of high-end brands, want to have a personalized experience, the one that is that shows privacy and exclusivity, whether it's a invite only na preview, private na mga showings na hindi open to all, and it's more private, more limited na numbers na guests in terms of viewing certain collections. These are things that makes people feel that inaalagaan sila ng brand, that they are important in the brand. So you have to do this in order for you to revive engagement from these people to your brand. Now, the second one is brands should start to take care of markets that are emerging in terms of luxury spending. Now, we mentioned earlier in the live stream that si US and si China, who are both very important na mga luxury goods market, these markets are aging markets or mature markets, for the lack of a better term. No. The better term is maturing markets. Because when you have a maturing market, there are opportunities that are limited for you to grow in those markets. Currently, there are emerging markets in Southeast Asia, and Asia as a whole. So that is why there are brands that are looking to India when it comes to luxury goods in terms of potential markets. Earlier, no. I think it was third quarter or fourth quarter of 2024, we had a live stream talking about how much is the luxury goods markets in Southeast Asia. Number one, I think I mentioned number one is Singapore at around oh god, I'm sorry, I cannot remember the figures. So number one is Singapore. Number two, I believe, is I think is Thailand. Number three is Indonesia. And then I think number four or number five is the Philippines. So that in itself gives us an idea that there is a small but growing, market in Southeast Asia that is open to this new kind of experience. Hindi ko sinasabi na walang pera sa Asia. Ang sinasabi ko is that tahimik tayong gumasto. And we are still a growing market in terms of luxury goods compared to, let's say, Japan or Korea or China or the US. Of course, in terms of economies of scale, China and the US are still important markets. They should not They should not let go of their foothold on these markets. In fact, they should be more involved in making sure that the markets, these huge markets, are satisfied with their customer service, satisfied with their the collections that is being sold there. I think one of the things that these luxury goods brands, in terms of strategies, should be doing is creating special collection that is only available in those specific markets. That it is not a collection or a drop of merchandise that is pretty much everywhere. What they can do even further is to have this special na mga what do you call this? Special na mga collections for these markets, and then make a global campaign out of it. Make sure that everyone who sees them are actually not just the people in those market, but a global market, available on their socials, available on their website, available in every channels that they have access to, because this will even make it more palatable to these growing markets that si Dior pala may special collection that is only available in Thailand, the Philippines, Indonesia, and Singapore. And the only way for us to access that is if we travel to these countries and buy from those markets. So these are things that can generate interest among luxury goods consumers here in Asia. Okay, next thing that they can do is to evolve their digital presence. So, I'm not sure if, for everyone na tao ito na in this live stream, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term omni-channel. That is when you have physical stores, you have online stores, you have other retail channels in different platforms, and they are interlinked. So which means that if, for example, there is a special collection that is only available in, let's say, in Singapore and in Thailand, while I am based in, let's say, in let's say Korea, in Seoul, and I cannot travel to buy the type of merchandise that I like, that is only available in Thailand and in Singapore, I can access those merchandise via their website, and then it can be delivered to me in my convenience. So having that kind of a premium omni-channel strategy that allows me access to different collection all over the globe, specialized collection all over the globe, at the convenience of my home, is something that what do you call this that is something that would help customers, luxury good customers, engage with the brand. Nowadays you need to elevate even yung online service mo, in order for you to maintain or retain yung iyong clientele, because elevated service or may mga services that medyo alta yung dating, is no longer optional, but it is rather required, because there are other brands who are doing more than you are. So hindi na pwede ngayon yung mindset that minimal effort can still reward me with maximum rewards. So it's not that the case anymore. Now, let's now talk about how are fashion influencers affected by this. Kasi definitely, the likes of Kelsey Merritt, the likes of Rose Kasahe, the likes of Heart Evangelista, these are going to be affected. Yung kanilang brand of influencing is going to be affected by all of these changes. Now, here's something that, although kutob, it is a gut feel from me. I feel that there is a huge gap between the can afford the luxury versus those who cannot afford luxury. Okay? So because of that, there is going to be a pushback by the general public on luxury goods spending. What does this mean? Tagalogin natin. Ibig sabihin po nito, yung mga cannot afford ng mga luxury items na to because either pagkamahal-mahal and then it is exacerbated by high inflation in the countries. It is, even made worse by the dollar, exchange rate. Pwedeng magkaroon ng negative emotions or negative reaction ang mga taong hindi kayang bumili at nakikita that these influencers are flaunting their access and their excess with the luxury goods in terms of yung kanilang social media presence. So if you are a you're a luxury goods influencer, there is a shift in mindset for a lot of audiences that will feel that because of kung gaano kahirap ang buhay ngayon, ayaw nila na ipamukha mo sa kanila yung yaman na meron ka at yaman na wala sila. Okay? So there is going to be a pushback on that. So saan ka lulugar bilang luxury goods influencer? Okay? So, you need now to pivot your content in such a way that you focus on storytelling, you focus on styling, you focus on longevity of the merchandise, the luxury goods that you have, and how you make sure that itong mga bagay na to na binili mo, na meron ka, is styled in so many ways so that people will see that kaya pala worth it bumili ng luxury is because pangmatagalan ang gamit. And you are able to justify the high costs with multiple use. Kaya ang cost per wear ng item na binili mo bumababa. It goes quite low because you are keeping on repeating the item and making sure that people see it. Okay? Because that is going to happen when the pushback on luxury becomes, almost violent on social media, that people will be calling you out that sa hirap ng buhay ngayon, imbes na gamitin mo yung milyones mo na magmayabang, makatulong ka man lang sana sa kapwa mo. These are mindsets that we see nowadays, especially kapag nagpo-post ako. I remember, especially on Facebook, there was this instance where I posted about Heart Evangelista, having high MIV, high EMV at the Paris, Milan fashion weeks, women's wear fashion weeks, the haute couture fashion week, and the menswear fashion week. There was a comment from an account that says na Heart is flaunting her wealth, and instead of flaunting her wealth, sana man lang she's able to help a lot of people. Now, instead of waldasin niya yung pera niya. Now, for those who are not familiar with Heart Evangelista's philanthropy through the Senate Spouses, charity organization, they would not know that Heart Evangelista donated, I think, one of her canvas Hermes bags and have it sold, and yung proceeds of that bag, which amounted, I think, 1.4 or 1.6 million pesos, dinonate niya yun sa Senate Spouses na foundation. Ibig sabihin, even if pagkamahal-mahal ng lifestyle niya, nagagawa pa rin din niyang tumulong sa sa kapwa niya through the SSFI na organization. Okay, again, the Senate Spouses Foundation Incorporated is not is not a government what do you call this? It's not a government agency. Okay, it is comprised of the wives and spouses of senators, and they do charity work. So nung nagkaroon ng bagyong Christine, nagkaroon ng bagyong nananalanta sa Visayas, they were there to help out. Okay, so that is the kind of tawag ito, reaching right that needs to be seen by audiences of these luxury goods influencers. Kinakailangan the way that these luxury good influencers structure their content, they need to make sure that one, they don't for the lack of a better word, they don't feel like they are boasting their wealth. Rather, they are using their wealth, to accomplish things that are bigger than themselves. Okay, so that's one. Now, there is also what we call a follower fatigue or influencer fatigue, where people are now craving rather for real value and not aspirational lifestyle that they can never achieve. This is where I believe, again, a perfect example dito is Heart Evangelista, where she not only endorses and showcases her lifestyle that is really far off from the regular Filipino lifestyle, but also finds ways to lower down and connect with the masses. Okay, so ano bang ginawa ni Heart lately na nagiging masa yung pakiramdam ng ginagawa niya? What she did lately is to have a endorsement or a what do you call this? A brand partnership with SM. Together with her sister, Camille Ongpauco, she had a SM Beauty na collaboration where she finds, mga products that is accessible to a larger, masses that is able to buy this merchandise, buy these products, para hindi masyadong disconnected siya yung kanyang alta na lifestyle with the people who are able only to buy, small luxuries out of life. Aside from that, she also still has a partnership with Avon, where a lot of us are able to access Avon on our own. And then, if you look at her endorsement, whether it is the Carne Norte of oh my god, I forgot the brand. Can you remind me, guys? Because I forgot I think it's Pure Foods Carne Norte that she endorses. Whether it is those kinds of product that is FMCG in reality, maganda sana na lume-level tayo kay Heart Evangelista, because we can also access these products. We can buy Avon, we can buy from SM, we can buy Pure Foods Carne Norte, kahit na mas mahal ang Carne Norte ng Pure Foods than other other local brands. It kind of she's able to kind of lower yung kanyang pagka-premium to make it a little bit more accessible to the masses. So that is something that makes sense in terms of strategy, in order for you to not get the backlash later on of having too high of a lifestyle that people feel that they are offended by your wealth. That is something that is a real danger to the current situation of luxury influencing nowadays. Okay, dito actually I promise not to use or not to mention not to mention her as this person as an example. Hindi, hindi. Let's not use this as an example. Laktaw na lang tayo kay to another beauty queen. Let's talk about Kreiona Gray. Okay, I think yes, Shaz, it's Pure Foods nga, tama. Thank you. Pure Foods corned beef. Okay. So, as I was saying about Kreiona Gray, if you look at the influencing career, the influencer, path that Kreiona Gray followed after her after her Dior Beauty. Suddenly you've seen her with H&M, you see her with Cetaphil. Actually it's Cetaphil pala, hindi Cetaphil. Okay, so for the longest time I thought it was Cetaphil. Okay, so you had H&M, you have Cetaphil, and then she had uh, a home partnership. I forgot the which brand. And then she also has parang mga gulong as part of her tawag ito, as part of her brands. And then she also had cream silk. So if you look at the brands that she endorses, very democratic yung kanyang mga choices. May alta like Dior, but at the same time, H&M and all of these other brands, they are very accessible. They are very FMCG to the point. And ito yung sinasabi kong isa sa mga missed opportunities ng isa pang beauty queen. Okay? The FMCG market, even if you are tagged as you are an FMCG na consumer, it should not be offensive to you because FMCG is actually the area of the market na kahit hindi ganun kalaki ang purchasing power, but because of their numbers, kayang tumapat doon sa mayayaman sa na luxury goods sector ng mga market. Dahil okay, let me explain, okay? There are tiers in terms of the markets. There are the bottom, the middle, and the top. Yung mga nasa top, sila yung mga sila yung mga mayayaman talaga, the AB market who can afford luxury goods. They are the 1% and the 10% of the population that are the most wealthy in in the country. Then there is the middle market, the FMCG market, who may not have the same what you can hindi sila ganon ka taas ang kanilang purchasing power, but because of their sheer number, they are able to move merchandise off the shelves because of their sheer number. And when you add up yung kanilang buying capacity, kaya nilang pumantay doon sa 1%, 10% of the at the top of the population. Okay? So this is why the FMCG, pag sinabi kong FMCG ang market ng influencer na to, sana hindi tayo na-offend because that is not a slight, that is not an insult, but rather that is a reality that this is the market that a lot of brands want to capture dahil malaki ang opportunities na to serve this market. And because this market is huge in terms of number of population, you can create niche brands for segments within this entire huge chunk of market. Kaya kapag sinabing FMCG yung market mo, I shouldn't have to explain that it is not an insult, because if you have conquered the FMCG market, um, mag-endorse ka ng mag-endorse ka ng something as very accessible as 3-in-1 coffee. Kung there are, sabihin natin, 100 million in that population of the FMCG market na kaya mong bentahan ng isang sachet ng 3-in-1 coffee, tiba-tiba yung brand. So, what I'm saying here is, if there is, let's say, 110 million na Filipinos in the country, sabihin natin the upper 10%, the upper the 11 sabihin natin the 11 million na alta na mayayaman is captured market ng mga luxury. The remaining 100 million is your FMCG market. Ang laki ng diferensya, di ba? In terms of the numbers, the sheer numbers. But in terms of buying capacity, halos nag-equal, or sometimes even the FMCG market mas malaki yung kanilang buying numbers as compared to the upper 10%. So I do hope that it does not become a slight if someone tells you guys that this influencer is a ang market niya is FMCG. Hindi nila ang FMCG hindi kayang bumili ng pagkamahal-mahal ng mga pagkamahal-mahal ng mga items, but kayang bumili ng maraming mura. And that is something that is a reality in business, that is not a slight, that is not an offense, that is not an insult. Okay? So, what does the luxury influencers have to do with the FMCG market? That is, if you have a alta lifestyle, you have a luxury lifestyle, and you want to appear more grounded, that you want to be liked not only from the upper 10% but also to the FMCG market, itawid mo yung markets na yon. And how do you do that? Okay, so case in point, another example, nabanggit ko na si Kreiona. She has Dior Beauty, which is a quite high in terms of the brand premium. Kahit na beauty lang yan, kahit na mga makeup, perfumes, cosmetics, ang Dior ang mga products under beauty, it is still Dior. And Dior is still considered one of the high-end luxury labels all over the world. And then, what other merchandise does or brands that Kreiona endorses? Nandyan ang nandyan ang H&M. Ang layo ng Dior in terms of price point. Because when you think Dior, you're not necessarily just thinking of the 800 pesos or 500 pesos na lipstick. You're also thinking the 15,000 worth na mga t-shirts or mga jackets. And then you have a very democratized brand like H&M na kahit may kamahalan siya dito sa Pilipinas, it's still accessible to a wide variety of Filipinos. So that is what I mean about pag ang luxury influencer or an influencer for that matter, kayang itawid yung alta at saka yung masa together. Another case in point is when Heart Evangelista endorses Pure Foods corned beef, na magpo-post siya on her social media na nagluluto siya ng Pure Foods, pero she's decked with unsigned na mga diamante sa buong katawan niya. And when I say unsigned, this is something that tawag ito, that not a lot of people understand, because when you say unsigned jewelries, these are jewelries that are created by independent na mga designers, independent na mga mga craftsmen and jewel smiths, that is not part of a larger brand. And imagine kasi ganito yan, bakit kadalasan lahat ng mga ginagamit ni Hart are unsigned na mga jewelries when endorsing, mga tawag ito, ng mga pure foods, ganyan, ng mga easily accessible na mga FMCG na products. That's because she doesn't need to be embroiled in the situation that some brands, especially high-end brands, have a clause in their in their agreements or contracts that ayaw nilang ma-associate sa mga brands that are pangmasa. May mga ganung kasing mga brands. Like imagine mo, if you're an endorser of, let's say, Bulgari na mga tao ito, na mga jewelry, tapos ang ipinost mo on your socials is nagpapakain ka ng aso habang suot ang Bulgari, that is something that is not going to be, that is going to be a conflict between the Bulgari and the dog food na brand that you are endorsing. So you need to be very mindful of that as well. That you need to keep your high-end brands separate in terms of the way that you endorse them on your socials versus how you use yung mga high-end na mga items and make it more masa to the general public. So you need to be smart with that. Okay, that is a wrong move because you might be able to to convince the the masa na hindi ka ganun ka-alta, that you are, even if alta ka, you're still accessible, but you are also you're also destroying your relationship with the high-end brand. So you need to learn how to balance that well, and you need to have a group of people who will tell you that what you're doing is is not aligned with what the outcome you want to deliver. Okay, so that is one of the things that fashion influencers need in order to strategize their content, especially with the downturn of luxury nowadays. So another thing that luxury goods influencers can do is to expand yung brand partnership mo to include mga vintage na mga luxury good items. You can also, expand yung partnership mo with local designers, local Filipino designers that has the premium aesthetics, and then make it accessible to the larger na mga masses, to the larger masa na crowd. Kasi there are designers na nakakabit yung pangalan nila sa kanilang label, and then there is a premium na premium na line for their name, and then there is a more accessible na line. So ano yung ibig sabihin nun, sir? Pwede kasi na merong pasadya ang mga designers, and then they also have a boutique where they sell RTW na mga items under their own label. So like for example, Rajo Laurel, Rajo has his own RTW line, and then he also does mga made to measure na mga garments for a select few clientele. Not all of us may not be able to access Rajo Laurel's made to measure mga pasadya na mga damit, but there is a larger number of the general Filipino populace who can probably go to his boutique, find something that is fit for their bodies, and accessible based on their budgets na pwede nilang bilhin. So that is what I mean about having local brand partnerships. Okay, so before I continue with this, let me just go through to some mga comments dito kasi medyo naiipon siya. So, sabi ni Shaz Rocha, tama, wag nyo na i-mention si Daing. Walang ROI i-mention yan. Shaz, I am not mentioning her kasi ayoko na naman na dumugin tayo ng mga fans niya and then sasabihin na kaya dinudumog yung mga content natin. It's because of we use that particular person. To be honest, my personal opinion on this, she's no longer relevant in terms of the conversation on luxury goods influencer. Kasi if she's not able to join in and have a show, multiple shows in the haute couture shows this July, it only means that she is no longer relevant in the high end na mga brands. It means that she's no longer someone to look up to when it comes to this segment of the market. Kasi from here's my take. If you are a luxury goods influencer, consistency has to be key. Hindi pwedeng you're in there for 2 years and then mawawala ka ng isang taon and then babalik ka na naman after a year or two. Because if you look at the what do you call this, you look at the influencing careers of other international influencers. Leonie Han for Hani for example. Chiara Ferragni is another example. They might be shifting yung kanilang contents on, let's say, from luxury, suddenly nagkaasawa na sila, nagkaanak na sila, to family life. But still the same aesthetics as that of when they were they were doing luxury influencing to general life and lifestyle influencing. Makikita mo that there is consistency in terms of the outlook, in terms of the visuals. There's consistency in terms of the way that they talk about their current lifestyle, and in the shifting of interests. That is something that needs to be studied and that needs to be innate doon sa person who is influencing. Kasi if you are pivoting in terms of content, and there is a shift in your lifestyle, if you're not genuine to who you are, magmumukha lang siyang disconnected from each other. That these things are compartmentalized and that they have no real connection with each other. So this is where we really need to alam kong gasgas. We need to totally be honest that having a personality, being genuine to that personality, being real, being authentic. God, that word is so gasgas from last year pa. But this is something that needs to be reinforced, needs to be relearned by a number of influencers, because that is what really makes you stand out in a sea of people who are trying to copy each other. So yun yung mahirap na mahirap na hindi naman i-explain. Madaling i-explain pero mahirap na ma-embody. If you are not, if you are not very authentic, you're not being true to yourself and what you bring into the table, hindi ka magiging effective long term. Okay? So, yun yung dahilan kung bakit parang ang hirap na niyang i-mention, because hindi na relevant yung ano yung nadadala niya sa conversation on luxury, on fashion, because kapag nag-shift siya ng content to other stuff, whether it's travel, there is parang disconnect doon sa fashionable na content niya versus yung travel na content niya. Parang mas totoo siyang tao kapag gumagawa siya ng travel content rather than when she does fashion. So, hindi siya relevant doon sa conversation natin on fashion and luxury and fashion lifestyle influencing. Okay? So, at saka iniiwasan ko na din dahil dahil nagiging bala lang siya ng mga fans niya at saka nung mga fans nung nung iba na kaya lang kaya na ginagamit lang natin yung pangalan niya in order to get clicks, which again, very very irrelevant doon sa conversation on fashion. Okay? So, sabi ni Shaz, H&M, tama, H&M si Kreiona. And I think she's been with H&M since 2022 or 23. Matagal-tagal na rin siya with H&M. And that is what I admire about Kreiona. Kasi, if you look at her, at the brands that she endorses, hindi siya pang alta lang or pang masa. Sometimes she has a brand that is on the alta and then on the masa na side, and a lot of the brands is in between. So kumbaga natatawid niya yung high end to the mass market na na mga segments of the entire populace, which is something that is commendable dahil hindi lahat ng tao kayang itawid yon. Okay? Much like there are some people, there are some influencers na kapag sinabi mong ito yung pangalan niya, we only associate it with high-end. Like for example, you talk about Small Lode. Ang hirap niyang isipan na makamasa ba yung kanyang lifestyle, or is it something that only the wealthy and the affluent can relate to, right? Parang iniisip mo lang kung ang apelyido mo is Ayala Zubel or Zubel de Ayala, I'm not sure which one comes first. Parang ang hirap niyang hanapan na kaya ba nating i-market ito sa masa. So that is, that is a problem that I don't think Kreiona has. So kudos to her and to her team na din, because if you look at Kreiona's team, sila yung mga taong nag-rally, sumuporta sa kanya from the time that she was Binibining Pilipinas until now. So nandyan pa din si Justine Aliman, nandyan pa din si of course si Nico, parati niyang kasama, si Miss Memay Francisco, and there's a lot of people behind her na dala-dala niya from the time that she was still in pageantry, and now that nag-mature na yung career niya into endorsements and other stuff. Okay? Nasaan ba to? Si Ira, my doll, one of her new endorsements po. Ira, my doll is endorsement ni Kat or endorsement ni Heart? So, I hope you can clarify that. Okay? Sabi ni Shaz Rocha, endorse Skechers but wear Nike. Kaloka. Okay, sabi ni Ira, my doll is being endorsed by Kat. Again, see, pwede kang kasing maging alta yung personality mo but still be masa enough. I think that is Kreiona. Kung siya ang kayang i-endorse at effective siya to endorse my doll, to endorse H&M, tapos kaya pa rin niyang i-endorse much more high-end na mga products on the cosmetics, for example, like YSL and Dior, then that's really something that is commendable, that is admirable on her. Okay? Sabi ni Victor Ligan, si Tita Gcash, naku, huwag na natin yung pag-usapan, guys. Yesterday's news na yan. Okay? We have moved on. Sige, I think I need to address this one last time. Okay? So, marami na silang nasabi about me na naparinggan na ako na obsessed, na bully, na tawag ito na-associate na din ako with yung mga paratang nila on estafa and what you call this and molester or and all of that. Okay, the mere fact that they insinuated yung may insinuation na nangyari doon sa pangalan ko, and then all of these mga allegations na allegedly patungkol sa ibang tao, pero the mere fact that nakakabit pa din ang pangalan ko on that sense, you know um, actually litigious yun eh. Pwede akong magdemanda, magsampa ng kaso for defamation kasi there are a number of people who are still messaging me, calling me a molester, calling me a estafador. And it all nag-ugat lahat yon doon sa isang post nila. Now, I am not yet moving on the legal part of stuff kasi hindi pa siya I feel na hindi pa ako affected personally ng mga allegations na yun. Kasi alam ko, wala akong record, malinis ang record ko, wala akong kaso, walang nakasampang kaso sa akin. Okay? So, one of the things that was, that was advised sa akin was, be be the bigger person, be the person na would learn to just move on, kasi this is not something na tawag ito na makakaangat ng value ko as a person. Okay, so when me and Mark had the live stream regarding Miss Universe Philippines several days back. I think it's a week ago. One of the things na nangyari was we were talking about Yana Adwana, and I told for some weird reason nabanggit ko na she was I cannot remember the conversation on that part. I think it was about being a strong competitor, and people defend her. Tapos biglang nag-interject si Mark saying na at the expense of. I was no longer actively thinking about that, because in my head, in my heart, I felt that I've seen this as a potential thing that could happen since 2023. And for it to happen 2024, I think that premonition or that gut feel just proved me wrong. Proved me right pala. That kapag kinutuban ka na, pakinggan mo ang kutob mo. Kaya matuto kang dumistansya. And that's what I did. Hindi ako naging active na participant doon sa mga sa mga issues niya. I never carried any inggit with her or with their accounts. They have huge number of followers. I was never about a huge number of followers. I only wanted na may nakikinig sa akin, may nakakaintindi sa mga sinasabi ko. It was never about a competition with her, because I was not competing at all. Parang this for me, again, as I said, is a passion project. So it was never about me having huge followers. Okay, it was never about me making money out of this thing. pasalamat ako na tawag ito na monetized ang YouTube ko, that I'm earning from it. But that was never the goal. The goal for me was to provide value in the conversations that I have on my socials. That is why if you look at my social media pages, whether it's Instagram on Facebook, very aesthetic yung latag ng mga posts that I have, because that is a way for me to honor my audience, because pupunta sa page ko, gusto ko maganda yung nakikita nila. Maayos yung tawag ito, maayos yung feed ko na nakikita nila. And that has always been, at the forefront of my of what I do in terms of content creation. It was never about gusto kong dumami ang followers ko like Adam Henato or like those two girls. Okay? So because of that, I was always nonchalant when it comes to yung mga issues, ganyan. I was always neutral sa mga issues ng mga kasama, ang mga kabaro ko sa industriya. I was never jealous of anybody else because I have my own career path when it comes to content creation. It was never about being the first in the scoop. It was never about having the exclusives. It was always about providing value in the conversations. So when I felt na may changes in the dynamics between me and those two girls, naramdaman ko na okay, matuto kang dumistansya bakla kasi ayaw mong pagbuntunan ka ng init ng ulo ng mga yan, because I've seen how they treated Adam Henato. And I owe Adam a hug, because lahat ng mga ginawa nila, I let it slide because I wanted to be neutral. But deep down inside, I felt that sumosobra yung mga atake nila kay Adam. But I never spoke out publicly against or pro any of those two dun sa publiko nilang away. And I was flabbergasted, surprised even, that sila yung unang nang away sa akin. I never called them out kapag may mga beauty queens na nasasaktan because of their content at nagsusumbong sa akin, because that is not my fight. That is their fight. All I do is pakinggan ko lahat ng mga hinaing ninyo, and I want to be the avenue where you can vent out. Para pag nailabas nyo na sa sistema nyo, then you're in good moods again. So that has always been my stance on that. You can vent out all your frustrations, and I will be the shock absorber. If you need a friend to say your piece, to vent out your frustrations, I am there. I will not there to judge you. I am there to listen. I am never there to judge. So we listen, we don't judge. Yun naman yung natin eh. Yun naman talaga yung role ko sa mga ito. Because gosh, I've been into companies na kahit ang ganda-ganda, I still am able to work with toxic people. So ayokong dalhin yon sa industriyang ito. But when I think it's the other girl who posted yung sana binabayaran ka sa mga ginagawa mo, and lahat ng comments were saying my name, na ito yung patutsada kay ganito sa akin. I felt that, saan nanggaling to? Kasi I never attacked any of those two ng diretsahan, ng tawag ito I never attacked any of those two without tawag ito, without probable cause. And I never found any cause to attack them. 'Di ba? So, ang nakikita ko lang is they are attacking me kasi I was pro heart and I was not pro the other girl na tawag ito, na the other influencer. So, I understand din naman that may mga utang na loob sila doon sa other influencer. I mean, they had live streams saying na they owe this COVID shot like this, they owe this deviant like that. So, I get that, you know, you have a material relationship with them. Pero it doesn't make sense that I get to be attacked by these girls nang hindi ko naman sila inaatake. So, what was the reason why? Because I am lost for words kung bakit, 'di ba? Bakit niyo kinaaway? Ano yung ginawa kong masama sa inyo that triggered that first that first attack? Because as far as I know, I never brought into any conversation an attack on your character. I never attacked that you are asking for money, that you are only gonna in conversations, you know, you made it clear that not gonna, you know, you're not gonna invest on a personality or na pageant na hindi ka nakakuha ng return on your investment. So why are you attacking me, calling me bayaran if I don't sell my services? I don't train. I don't do consulting on pageantry kasi I have my day job for all of the financial needs that 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 kailangan kong gawin para mabuhay. Okay? I have made my content creation separate from my, you know, from my professional work. And even during the times na tawag ito nagkaroon ako ng mga tawag ito ng mga financial difficulties because sabay na ospital ang tatay at nanay ko. I made sure that hindi ako nangutang. I made sure na hindi ako namalimos. I made sure that I never had to ask for help from anyone in the pageant industry. In fact, I remember that back then, I had 21,000 US dollars in my bank account that ginalaw ko in order for me to take care of my dad who suffered a stroke, who stayed in the hospital for 3 months. And I was there in every chemotherapy session ng nanay ko from the time na from the time that she passed away and until she was from the time that she was diagnosed that her CA metastasized until she passed away. So in terms of financial stability, I had that. So ano yung reason why you call me bayaran? So that is where it all started. Of course, sino naman ang hindi masasaktan? Sino naman ang matutuwa, 'di ba? That you are being called all of these lies, all of these insinuations and calling out that is defamatory to my character when I'm not the one who is begging for money in pageantry. That this is not even my main source of income. That sabihin niyo nang nagmamayabang ako, but I have a investment with the bank. I think it's 3 na ngayon na investments with BPI. So Alam niyo naman ang BPI, that's Ayala owned. Imposibleng hindi sila marunong maghawak ng pera. I have um, 3 schools, currently 2 that I teach in, because one is in conflict with the other, with the position, with the rank that I am currently in one of the schools. So I have multiple income streams, to the point that at one point I had 6. Dahil kailangan kong igapang ang pamilya ko, may sakit ang mga magulang ko during that time. So when in that entire conversation did you see me act that my character is for sale, that my opinions are for sale? Because pag tinawag niyo akong bayaran, then you have to find evidences that would support your claim. Kasi if you're just insinuating na baka bayaran yan, kaya ganyan siya kay influencer na ito, kaya siya in full support kay Heart Evangelista, then the ball, the proof of your allegations needs to come from you. I don't need to release evidences because kayo ang nagparatang. The proof of the burden of the evidence is on the accuser. It's always like that in court. So yun yung yun yung hindi ko maintindihan in all of this. That is why ang sabi sa akin, if people are really so fast to judge you, even if inakala mo kaibigan mo sila, then they were never really your friends from the very beginning. Because friends, or real friends rather, would give you the benefit of the doubt, will not judge you on the optics alone. They will use their connection with you, talk with you, get your point of view, and true friends, they will fight for your name in spaces that you're not in. Yun ang tawag ito, yun ang true measure of friendship. So I know medyo na-discarril na yung mga yung topic natin for this evening into this unsavory na topic, but I think I just also wanted na to finally put a nail into it, that emotionally I am not affected by the loss, because it only meant that it was never a friendship, but it was a relationship of convenience. Because nung nag-uumpisa yung channel nila, yung channel niya, giniguest niya ako. And back then, I had the clout because I was one of the very few people who have access to the Miss Universe organization, because iilan lang noon ang nakakapag-cover sa Miss Universe. I remember when I was in Doral in January 2015, in December 2015, in tawag ito, in the MOA Arena in January of 2017, and then sa Las Vegas again ng December, nung kay Rachel. I was one of the few Filipinos who are able to do media coverages. And tayo hindi tayo gatecrasher we are official media partners. Meron tayong official Miss Universe media badge whenever I cover these pageants before. So I had the clout before, and they also used me for clout na nandun ako sa channel nila. And I don't have a channel back then kasi I didn't want to. And actually, I was just forced na magkaroon ng YouTube channel in around 2018 because nagsarili ako from Sash Factor for personal reasons. Okay, so kung sasabihin nila na ginagamit ko sila for clout, Dai, I think it's the other way around because I had clout when you had nothing. So I had all the information when you had nothing. So hindi ko itinapon sa mukha ninyo yun. Because for me, out of the feeling that this world, this pageantry world, needs to be shared to all, hindi ako naging maramot na impart what I know. In fact, the reason why I got noticed by Sash Factor, it's because during the time that Megan is competing in Bali for Miss World, I was giving, the Filipinos who plan to travel to, to Indonesia, that these are the tips when you are coming here to Indonesia. Magkaiba ang Jakarta sa Bali. It is another ride, another airplane ride from Jakarta to Bali. So if you are able to travel directly to Bali, ito yung mga kailangan nyong gawin. Doon ako napansin ng Sash Factor, and then that's when they started, absorbing me into the Sash Factor family. So I don't get that after all the generosity that I have shown to not only them, but to Adam and to other people, I feel that napaka-unfair that inaaway nila ako nang hindi ko nalalaman ang dahilan. So, yun. So, and when I had that, that realization last year that if they are willing to judge you or if people are jumping to judging you before they understand yung reasons why you're doing what you're doing, then they were never really friends of yours. So hindi naging masakit sa akin kasi I saw it coming 2023 pa lang na I've seen so this is how they treated other people. I've been observant on occasions that kahit tumigil na si Adam noon sa mga tao ito sa pagfa-fight back, meron pa rin silang nasasabi that it's become like the Mean Girls clique nina Regina George. So I felt that kung kaya nilang gawin sa iba, kaya din nilang gawin sa akin yon. So when it did eventually, happen, that they started calling me out, calling me bayaran, calling me obsessed, calling me bully and all. I knew that friendship was not worth salvaging. And I think, as we mature as individuals, we gotta learn to recognize when a friendship, a relationship is still worth fighting for. Because sometimes there are instances that some friendship are just best let go. Na there are people who are just meant, to teach you a lesson in life. And this is something na I think have learned in the past. Especially when I was, I was bullied at work. It was a perfect company for me. But the people after, there was a leadership change in our group when it became a clique of mean girls, and I'm the only gay in that group. I realized that okay, this is the same pattern that I experienced before. So I know now how to handle myself. So you ease out of the relationship. You ease out of the the connection, and you just be polite. So that's what I did. And nangyari ang nangyari, and it wasn't much of a loss because if I'm looking back, wala namang, wala namang naging support back. Because when my mother passed away, um, walang nagpadala ng bulaklak. Only messages, thoughts and prayers. And I remember that all the friends from college, from high school, from work, that at that time, hindi ako nagkaroon ng, ng constant communication. Um, Lahat sila nagpadala ng bulaklak. And they even messaged me na saan nakalibing, saan nakaburol, and we will be sending flowers. We're not able to attend, but we will be sending flowers. So that is when you see who are the true friends. Dahil even if we haven't spoken for 5-10 years, when I was working in Jakarta, I would only meet them once a year kapag umuwi ako ng Pilipinas, because I only have like 5 days here in the Philippines, and then babalik na naman ako ng Indonesia for work. I realized that there are friendship that goes deep, and yung yung standards ko for friendship is entirely based on those relationships, that even if you don't meet these kind of friends on a regular basis, when you do meet them up, it is as if walang nagbago. That the relationship that you fostered in your 20s, in your 30s, are meaningful. So that was, I think, for me an eye opener on on genuine friendship, on genuine people, because genuine people, they would ask for the why of what you're doing. So I think yun yung realization. That is why nasabi ko dun sa live stream namin ni Mark. I've gladly moved on from all of this, and I really hope that this is the last time that I will ever have to talk about that. I hope that hindi na rin siya magsalita, o hindi na rin sila magsalita. Because honestly, if you're going to be asking for or judging true friendship just by optics, when nagkita kami sa Binibining Pilipinas, I came there, first. I was there earlier, and I've already talked with a lot of the media people there, and they were saying, kumusta? So, how do you feel? Ganyan. And I was joking around saying na, eto, mukhang hindi guilty. And then she came in, and then I looked at the sheet there na, okay, peer, ano lang siya, okay, never mind. Let's not talk about that. So she came in and she was doing the parang media rounds. And I really felt that she's doing it for the optics, na parang naaawa na ako kasi you're doing parang it felt like she was doing it para mangolekta ng simpatya. And my sympathies also went with her during that night, na parang may kailangan siyang patunayan, na she needed the optics that people are supporting her. And I do understand that. Hindi biro yung gastusin sa isang criminal case. I understand because, criminal case like this, if mapatunayan sa korte that, somebody lost 2 million in terms of potential revenue, and you are found guilty as someone who, led to that, pwedeng yung 2 million na yun idagdag sa babayaran mo as daños perjuicio. So, I get it. I get why certain people need to solicit sympathy, because they needed that. And naawa din ako, to be honest. It's becoming at the point where it's more than more than anger or denial. It's just an acceptance that it is what it is. We are at different points in, in the moral spectrum, I guess. I stand for what I believe. They stand for what they believe is right. Ang sa akin lang is that I am just grateful that I am healthy. Wala akong kaso. Wala akong criminal na record. I am doing well in terms of my career. I am rebuilding the savings that I wanted. Sa akin kasi, one of my goals here is if I'm gonna retire, kinakailangan at least may 1,000,000 ako sa bangko. Hindi pwedeng bababa ng 1,000,000. Because it's so expensive now to retire here in the Philippines. We've been talking about, inflation and all earlier. It's so much difficult to build savings nowadays because a lot of our expenses eats up on what is potentially our savings for retirement. So, nagigets ko yung pakiramdam. I get the feeling why some people like her needs to hustle, and maybe in consequences of that hustle, may nasasagasaang tao, may sinasaktang tao, just to get that monetization. So I get that. I just find it pitiful that if that has become your existence, then it really is not that's let's just say that that's not the kind of life that I want to live. I pursue financial stability because I like what money represents, and money for me represents being able to buy freedoms. It is not my end all and be all. Okay. I do not beg for people to give me money. I prove my value by giving value. And if people recognize that, I feel that when people see the value in what you give, you are going to be rewarded one way or the other. And that is the reason why I think career-wise, I'm doing fine. I'm doing well. Uh, I just am not yet. I'm not yet back at the financial level that I feel I need to be. And every year, umaangat yung figure na dapat this year, my savings should be at the this level of 6 digits, at this level of 5 digits, at this level of 4 digits. Kasi you need to give, a accurate na number so that you work towards that goal. That way, yung financial goals mo, ma-achieve mo. Kasi it becomes tangible to you kapag meron nakadikit na numero. So, there. Guys, naligaw na tayo dito sa ating live stream. We got sidetracked with the conversation that we have here, which I didn't want to. To be honest, I just wanted to move and focus on different things for this live stream. But wala eh. May mga nangyari, may mga katanungan na kinakailangan sagutin. So, anyway, let's go back doon sa ating mga comments. Okay, Ira says, mahirap panindigan ang pagiging luxury influencer if one is faking to be living of such lifestyle. Shaz also says, Jelly Eugenio, andyan pa din kay Kat. Shaz, thank you very much for the gift, for the generosity that you've given us. Salamat sa suporta to the financial contribution that you gave. Gaano kaliit, gaano kalaki, it doesn't matter. It's the thought of giving that counts. And I am very grateful kay 50 centimos yan, kay 100 yan, or whatever figure it is. I am always grateful for anything. This is also the reason why kahit sa kalsada kapag naglalakad ako, makakita ako ng 25 cents, ng piso sa kalsada, pinupulot ko dahil I know the value of money. I know the value ng pinaghihirapan mo yung pera, and this is the reason why actually I'm looking at my table here. Nandito yung mga taong ito, yung mga 25 na napupulot ko sa sa kalsada, and you can see here how gas it looks like, because for me, just because it is ugly or unwanted, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have value. So guys, ang hindi ka makakabuo ng piso kung kulang ka ng 25. That's what my titas would tell me, mga kapatid ng dad ko, when I was, kasi we have a huge ancestral home in the province, and during school lunch time, doon kami pumupunta for lunch before going back to school, and our our aunts, we call them mamay, we call them mama, we call them various names because they occupy, matriarchal roles in the family. And one of the things that stuck to me is that pag may nakita kang pera sa kalsada, pulutin mo because it doesn't devalue na sa kalsada mo siya nahanap. It is as much of a, it has the same value as if binigay siya sa'yo or pinaghirapan mo. So, there. So, thank you very much. Ira says, hugs Sir Jason. Thank you, Ira. It really warms my heart that may mga taong sumusuporta sa akin. Okay? So, I think it's about time that we wrap up yung conversation natin ito. Kasi, when it comes to, the future of luxury, especially this year, the influencer economy is evolving, and it's no longer about selling a product or, being able to, to convince people to sell. Kasi, we have seen someone do that. We've seen Kreiona, sell out an outfit sa tawag ito sa H&M last year. Of course, Heart Evangelista is the best example of moving merchandise, out from the shelves and into the pockets of the consumers. So, if that is no longer enough, what makes influencing enough for the brands? And this is where you establish a community. That community is there to support you in every aspect, in every way that is relevant to fashion, that is relevant to your lifestyle, that is relevant to the brands. And this is where brands, would value influencers that bring back what they invest on the influencers. Kasi nowadays, it will not be enough that you only post about the brands only when it is convenient for you. You need to establish a relationship with the brand, that you are not only posting about them because an item is loaned to you or an item is lent to you for social media posting, but you also believe in the ethos, in the principles, in the values of the brand, and you reinvest back to them what they invest on you. And this is where it becomes a relationship, when it becomes reciprocal yung relationship nyo with the brand. Because influencers nowadays, maraming influencers ngayon. There's so many influencers that are bringing personality, that is bringing style, their own personal style into the game. And if you don't have those, then the best way to establish, presence with the brands is to have a relationship with them. So nowadays, I think it's much more important, to know that there is a much larger or a much largesse um, in terms of what you can give and deliver back to the brand. It's not enough that you are able to bring the eyeballs. It's no longer enough that you give them the reach, because the wrong reach will not result to purchases. It is like you are trying to sell sand to people in the desert, and you are trying to sell seawater to the people who are living in an island. um, it doesn't, it doesn't make sense. You need to be able now, not only to move merchandise but also connect to a larger community and build that community, so that that community is going to support you through thick and thin. I think that is, in essence, is that you bring value back, in as much as you deliver value. You must also to bring value back to the consumers, to the brands, if you are an influencers. And in that overall na scheme of things, this is not only sorry, this is not only relevant to influencers, but the brand themselves. I think brands have oftenly thought of themselves as high and mighty, na untouchable sila, that they can increase their prices as much as they want without any repercussions on their finances. Now they are seeing the repercussions on their finances. Now they are seeing that their finances, their sales, their revenues are eroding, because it no longer makes sense for consumers to buy all of these exorbitant prices. If we put that into the conversation of the influencers, it is no longer enough that you only provide reach, you only provide eyeballs, that you only provide visibility to the brands. You need to bring loyalty for from those who see your content on social media, and build a community that would support the brand. That is the end goal that I think brands are looking for when partnering with influencers. So it is important, I believe, that nowadays it's all about providing value. Whether you are a small content creator on YouTube, on Instagram, or you are a large mega influencer that commands millions in terms of subscribers and followers, ultimately it is the value that you put into the relationships, into the community that you build, into the brands that you partner with, that would make the difference. So I think, and I hope that kapulutan to ng aral ng mga influencers natin, because the influencer sphere is going to be more tough in the coming months ahead. Brands are trying everything that they can do in terms of, this creative designer rigodon that has been happening since last year, because that is one of the easiest way to call this, to shake up this industry that is in decline in terms of sales. So we're hoping that in the next 6 months, 9 months, even, we will see that influencer marketing, the careers of the likes of Kelsey Merritt, Kreiona Gray, and of course Heart Evangelista, and with Rose Kasahe in the mix, they would still have a steady, steady careers through the ups and downs of this industry. So we're hoping na yung mga Filipino influencers natin, manatili yung kanilang mga careers, and that they are able to soar through. And I am hoping na hindi lang sila yung mag-succeed, because I am also looking at the likes of Kylie Verzosa, who has been, very in the up and up lately in terms of her, in terms of her social media content, in terms of her business, Sola, with her, Singapore tawag ito na feature, and now so just recently went in Coachella. So I think we need to support yung mga influencers that bring value into what they do, and not just be blind that numbers is everything that matters. No, it's the quality of that numbers that matters nowadays. It's not the high numbers, but it's the quality of those numbers that you bring into the table. Okay? Mga huling hirit sa mga comments. Shaz says, hindi po kasi ako natuloy sa cinema, kaya nanood ako ng live ninyo. Salamat. So, support ko na lang sa channel niyo. Salamat, Shaz. I'm really very appreciative of your support, whether it's on IG, whether it's on Facebook. Isa siya dun sa mga sumusuporta talaga, who comments doon sa mga haters na nagfa-flood kung minsan sa ating mga social media channels. Ira, sabi niya, ang dami kong natutunan tonight, Sir Jason, aside from the main topic. Thank you very much, Ira, and I do hope na despite all of these challenges, nakita niyo naman na there are times na hindi natin kailangan pumatol. There are times na kinakailangan din natin independent ang sarili natin. And sometimes, it is the wisdom knowing the difference between one and the other that keeps our peace of mind. And thank you very much doon sa words of encouragement that you said, because it really, I genuinely feel the support, and this is also has given me the strength to fight back against all of this haters and bashers, people na naiinggit, people na nang-aaway, because there are genuine people like you who keeps on giving us the strength that we need to move on a very toxic na environment that we're having on social media lately. So we are going to building up, we're still gonna continue building up yung mga fashion content natin. I will still be still be keeping my eyes on our lovely Filipino influencers, and I will be cheering them up. I will be supporting those who are worthy, and who are valuable, because they deserve our support. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. I do hope that to see you in our next naman mga live streams. I will try to do more regular live streams in the future, and try to give you mga interesting topics to discuss. So maraming salamat, and have a great evening. Before I turn off our live stream, please do leave a thumbs up in our episode this evening, and kita-kits again soon. Please do check our other content here on YouTube, and we do hope to see you again in the future ng mga live streams natin. Ayan, maraming salamat, and see you again soon. Bye-bye. Have a great evening ahead.